Alright, peace and greetings YouTubers. Alright, so this specific video, what I want to do is I want to be a little bit more transparent with you all and be a little bit more intimate about some things going on with me. I'm very closed off on occasion, so y'all don't get to know about what's going on in my life. But if you follow me, I shared with you all back in September that my father died in the summer, back in July, a few weeks before my birthday. And I want to say that I spent like the last 6-7 months just kind of, adjusting to life and putting the pieces where they belong. And I just wanted to kind of share with you guys 5 things that I've been doing to help me in my process, and I think this may help other people who deal with something similar. Now, my way of dealing with everything may not be the same as everybody else's because we're all cut from a different cloth, and the relationship that I had with my parents may be different from yours. So just to give the background, the relationship I had with my parents was great. There's no skeletons and stuff that I sat on for 20 years, and nobody was abusive, nobody was a drug addict, nobody cheated on mom, and nobody tried to kill anybody. Life was good, okay? So, maybe if that's not your experience, maybe you probably might want to turn this off. But actually, you might still want to listen to what I got to say anyway. But, anyway, by the way, we're aiming to try to boost our subscriber count to 5,000 this year. Hey, let's get to 10, So we'll just see what happens. So a lot of these videos are going to be more personable. So yeah, subscribe if you want to. Anyway, so just to give you a quick background, I shared with you guys in September that my father died during the summer. He had this chronic disease called scleroderma. And long story short, he kind of died unexpectedly in July. Back in December of 2014, we did have a scare where we thought he was going to die. Then I got a call when I was at work, you need to come fly home because Dad, he has 2 weeks to live. I live in D.C., my parents live in Washington State, and that's Seahawks. But, so during that time period, that was a very hard period because, he was in ICU for about 45 days. So, we spent Christmas, New Year's in that room, eating that nasty hospital food, and, it's just a very... It's an experience where you deal with a lot. And anybody who's had to deal with taking care of a sick relative or a sick parent understands what that's like. But anyway, he bounced back. He got better. He was actually supposed to be getting a double lung transplant in November had he made it. But he died a few months earlier. And the funniest thing about that whole situation is the day that he died, I talked to him the day before and we were laughing about Donald Trump and no hint that he was, nothing out of the ordinary. That day he was going out. My brother had flown in from Hawaii because he's in the military, so they were hanging out. And I was making plans to come down there for Christmas. We're gonna just have a good time this year. Gonna have a good Christmas. Anyway, that specific night, I was actually trying to make a YouTube video talking about the experience of what happens when you're dealing with a sick parent. And I was actually going to talk about the whole mishap that happened in December because he was in the hospital, but the hospital actually almost killed him because they gave him the wrong medication, not paying attention. And then that made his ICU trip be longer. He really was only going to be in the hospital for 10 or 15 days because they misdiagnosed him when they said he only had, 2 weeks to live. They didn't understand the disease that he had. And when they actually learned about it, they're like, oh no, he'll be fine. We just, we read everything wrong. But then they gave him the wrong medication, and that's what almost sent him to the grave because, he just reacted so terribly to it. And then I'm like, they were like, he's going to die within the next few hours. He's on the machine choking, and it just was chaos. So anyway, I was actually trying to do a video about that, and for some reason I could not get the video to come out right. And that whole day was weird anyway because I had this dream that I was driving on the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, which is like this bridge that connects Alexandria, Virginia to like Oxon Hill, Maryland. People take that when they're trying to go to DC sometimes. And I kept having this dream that I was on the bridge, and for some reason it's a drawbridge too. And for some reason I drove off the bridge and crashed into the water. And I'm like, what kind of dream? But anyway, that day I was trying to make this video, and I could not get it to go right. And usually when you guys are seeing these videos, this is like the 8th or 9th attempt because I can never get the intro right. So that day I was having a hard time with the intro. I did like 20, 30 takes, could not get it right. My friend calls in the middle of my little video process and is like, what are you doing? Let's go out. Like, yeah, let's go out. It's a good summer. It's a bomb summer. Plus, it was 7-Eleven, all right? And 7-Eleven had the free smoothie day. So I'm like, this is a bomb day. We went and got our smoothies. Later that night, we went and partied with the Ethiopians because those are my distant cousins. Having a ball. Then about 1 a.m., my brother called and was like, Dad just passed out in the house. And so then that next hour and a half was a bunch of, not chaos, because I was actually very calm the entire time. Probably because I had a drink or two in my system and I was trying to process everything. But the hour and a half of uncertainty where you don't know what's going to happen. You know, the paramedics are in the house, they're trying to resuscitate, and the neighbors are here, and this, that, and the third. I haven't talked to mom yet. I'm only talking to the brother, and he can only give me so many details because he's a little distraught watching it all. And you know, you're 3,000 miles away in a totally different state, and you're just processing everything. And you know, he ended up dying that night. But you know, oddly enough, I was okay. You know, I dealt with it a few days later emotionally, but you know, I was okay. So anyway, let me fast forward. That was just a backstory for those of you who are like, wrap it up, get to the point. But anyway, I think 5 things that I've been doing since he died to kind of help me, and I think this is important for anybody. I think the first thing is, 1, you have to learn to focus on yourself and have a new perspective and outlook on life. And when I say focus on yourself, I mean working on yourself as an individual, working on yourself as to what you contribute to society. Because when you lose a parent or a relative or a child or a spouse, you learn very quickly that you're not invincible, and life is short, and it makes you wonder and think about what all can you do while you're here. And it gives you a lot of time to really just kind of go out and really just reevaluate everything and really find a new purpose, because now that you know, life goes on after you lose somebody close to you. But life doesn't go on the same way that you know it. It's now something different, and you have to find that time to adjust and recalibrate yourself to, you know, what the new normal is. The faster you can do that, the better. But it's also important that you make sure you mourn and you grieve and get all that out. Don't be trying to just rush and jump onto the I'm over it train the week after thinking you're good. But I gave myself a week or two to mourn, and then we did the funeral. The funeral was a very beautiful ceremony. It wasn't sad. I didn't even cry during the funeral. Neither did my mom. We were elbowing and joking and laughing, and that was just because that was the kind of relationship our family had. We were very comedic. It was a wonderful service. But the weird thing at the funeral, the entire time I was sitting there, yes, I was sad. It was my dad. I'm like, man, life comes at you so fast. But I was sitting there thinking about, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? And I kept thinking, you know what? You need to take your butt back to school. Go get your master's. Go get your master's. Go to film school. If that's what you really want to do, this is the time to go and do it. Because clearly, life does not just sit there and doesn't wait for you. So you need to go and do what you need to do to be that person you want to be. And any other talent or anything else that you want to do, anything that you want to accomplish, this is the time to really put the work in on it. What else do you have going at the moment? And, you don't want the time that you're here to be in vain. So, I'm in the funeral, I'm sad, but I'm also thinking about, okay, when I get back to D.C., I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that, I'm going to go to apply to all these schools. And, for me, I think it kind of helped me because it became a focus. I still focused on my dad because, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him or my grandma, because my grandma had died like the same day I moved back home from college. That was like 5-6 years ago, but I was really close to her as well. But having something to go back to, because that's the worst thing. Once the funeral's over and that person's in the ground, it's like, where do I go from here? And because I had the where do I go from here deal package, I got it together, it was kind of like, boom, that kind of helped a bit. Because when I got back home, it wasn't me just laying around 3,000 miles away, oh, woe is me. It's kind of like, okay, we gonna take a minute to get a little tear out, and then we need to get these applications together. We need to figure out everything we're gonna do. We need to just make sure that we apply ourselves to everything that we're doing, and we give 100. That's one thing that really helps because it gives you a new purpose and a focus. And even though you're still sad about that relative, you now have something that you're working towards. And I'm not gonna say it distracts you, but it shifts your focus from the past to the future. And you let the elements that you learned in the past help to build that future. I think the second thing that's important is you have to really strengthen relationships with your family and friends. And it's also a good time to make new relationships. I wasn't very close with a lot of my father's side of the family, only because I'm not trying to tell all our business, but my father's side is cut from a different cloth than my mother's side. And I just didn't really get the opportunity to grow up with a lot of them. But I've really spent the last 6 months getting to know a lot of cousins and relatives, and I think that helps a bit because there's, even though we don't have a lot in common, the mutual, piece that we do share is that my father is, that's what kind of brings us together. Now you're learning all these different things about each other, and I think that helps because when you have those supportive relationships around you, it helps you to feel better about yourself. So if you're having a bad day, you're feeling some kind of way, you got this whole call log of people you can call and say, hey, what's up, what you up to? And you don't even have to talk about that dead relative. You can just talk about, yo, did you see Cosby? Well, maybe we shouldn't talk about Cosby right now. Yo, did you see A Different World? Let me tell you, Lord, things like that just make life so much better. It's so funny. A lot of those days where I'd have a moment where I'm like, man, woo, it would be so funny because the phone would ring, and it would be one of those people that somebody from the family. It'd be somebody that I've been working with, and they just call you for the most random thing. Oh, you just came to my mind, and it's things like that that just make you feel better about everything. And so I think it's important to strengthen those relationships with the relatives you have. The ones you're beefing with that you can't stand, this is the perfect time to get along with them because you need them just as much as they need you. I just think it's important. Relationships are great. Meet new people, go out, do things that are different. Hell, if it's especially if you've lost a child or if you've lost a spouse. I'm not saying you go start dating or try to find new kids right away, but I think it's important to surround yourself with new energy, new people that bring something to you, and not just anybody, but people that you can learn something from. People that there's an element of their personality that gives you some kind of euphoria or enhancement or empowerment. You want to surround yourself with people like that. The third thing is, I think you have to learn to be with yourself. I think it's important to know who you are. This is the best time to just reflect and look at life and look at where you are. Look at yourself as a person. What can I do better? Where are my flaws? And the perfect place to do that? On the airplane. The airplane is the best place to just reflect about life and yourself because you have nothing to do but sit there anyway. Unless you're in first class and you decide to pay 3 times as much for your plane ticket so you can get a hot towel and a hot meal and maybe a digiplayer, then you watching the movie. But, for the rest of us who sit in coach, that's like the perfect time. And literally, like, the most reflection I do about life is always on the plane. Like, I'm telling you, that flight back from DC to Seattle, and it was so crazy because when he died, I flew out the next day. So of course I had to put together one of them little cheap package deals because when you buy a plane ticket the day before, you're gonna pay an arm and a leg. So I think I stopped in Phoenix or something, but it was a long day. But anyway, I did so much reflecting on that plane. I just I had my iPod. It's just me looking out the window and just thinking about life. And the best thing about it is, like, when I get on the plane with my music, listen, I don't turn up on the plane. I need my music to be very mellow and just calming so I can just think. Because I don't turn up on the plane because the plane's already turning up with the turbulence anyway. Like, it's so funny. I'll be on the plane listening to something like Roberta Flack, and the plane is and my iPod is just strolling in the park, watching when I turn to spring, and the plane and so the plane is doing all this, and you're just, that's the time, feel like making it just kind of helps to calm your nerves, because I'm not really big on, I can't stand flying, because I'm like, how is this 30,000 ton thing staying in the air? And especially when the pilot goes on the bathroom, or like if you see the pilot, they go take the bathroom break and the flight attendant stands and blocks the door. I'm like, who's flying the plane? Who's flying the plane? I know there's a co-pilot, but I need all hands on deck. I need all hands on every button that's supposed to be pushed. So, anyway, but reflecting and taking time to just build with yourself and understand why things are the way they are, that's always the best, because it just helps you to feel so motivated. Like, every time I get on a plane or a long ride, like a train ride or a bus ride or something, I am so motivated afterwards. Like, I just feel like, when I get off this plane, I'm going to do everything. And then I get off the plane and go to sleep. But, it's something about feeling limited and not in control. That's the thing about an airplane. You just have to sit there and take it. You're not in control. You can't control the flight. You can't do anything but sit. So it gives you the perfect time to be with yourself. And, especially if it's a spouse that you've lost, that was the hardest thing, is just, when it's a spouse or something, and that's the person you're every day, your every reason for waking up every single day, your routine life as you know it, and then they're gone, and you haven't been with yourself for years, this is the perfect time to find out who you really are, And I think that goes into so many elements. The next part is, you really want to search for understanding. You want to search for a quest to understand why things are the way they are. Because if you don't come to peace and come to terms with everything, you're going to be miserable forever. Like, as mad as I was that he died, because I blame in my head, I'm like, if he was never in the military, he'd still be here. He had to be around all those chemicals and work in those warehouses with all that dust. And, you find every reason to find why he died. It's this person's fault. But the minute you kind of just search for understanding, no matter what your religious spirituality beliefs are, whether it's Buddha, Muhammad, Allah, you just call on one of them and you talk to them, figure it out. But like, I think it just helps to, it gives you an inner peace when you come to terms with what happened and you come to terms with why things are the way they are. It helps you so much more. You stop asking why, but now you ask what now. Okay, you can spend all day talking about why, but why doesn't change anything. After the why, the next part is, well, what now? What do you do now? What happens now? And when do you do it? That's what helps you move along. So as sad as it was that was my father, because my father and I just, Lord, I love my daddy so much. Like, he would go out on a limb for me, do any and everything. The reason I'm such a huge music fan is because he introduced me to just music of all genres, whether it was jazz, it was soft rock from the 60s, the funk of the 70s, 80s, now we were we get on road trips, just drive all around the country, just him and I just jamming, listening to everything. And that's probably why I have such an old soul now. But like, I mean, he went all out for me, he would give his last for me. And then on top of that, I mean, I had a brother as well, and he had foster kids. He just had a giving heart. So coming to understanding and just accepting, okay, he's not here anymore, but you know what? He's left me with all the necessary tools I need to be great. And he's instilled enough in me that even though he died while I'm young, you know, I'm not misguided. I'm not a misguided youth running around, don't know what to do with myself. He put all of that there. And I think the last piece that's really important is you have to also understand that you're not the only one suffering, especially when you're the child and it's the parent that you lost. Because you have to understand that your mother or your father, whoever the spouse is that lost that relative, if they were married, that's a lot for them. You know, the part that got me, I think I mourned the most for my mother. Not even for me. I was like, I'm going to be okay. But my mom, I used to be like, oh, that poor lady, just bless her heart. Like, that's the saddest thing. That's the part that makes you cry. Is you don't want to see your parents suffer. You don't want to see anybody else suffer. Because I'm kind of somebody who likes, I'll take it all. Just put it all on me. I can handle it. And I don't like to see other people suffer. I can't. It hurts my heart. And having to see my mom, because I mean, my mom loved that man. If you knew her background, just know that before she married my dad, she was in a really, really, really bad relationship. And my dad was just like the Prince Charming that came and rescued her and just showed her a different outlook on life that she'd never seen before. And I mean, they were so in love. I mean, they still had their problems like every married couple, but I mean, the ideal marriage, you get married for like 35 years, and oh, it hurt my heart because I talked to her the day after he died. Like, I found out, because my brother couldn't tell me because he was gone. So my neighbor had to call me and say, oh yeah, they tried to do he's gone. But, you know, I called my mom the next day, and that had to be the hardest conversation to have, because what do you say? You know, what do you say? You know, so I mean, I took the task of calling all the relatives and telling everybody what happened, and I was like, Mom, just relax. I mean, the funeral, we kind of planned together, but I kind of just was like, Mom, I just want you to chill. We'll talk the money and everything else, but I'll put this together, I'll do that. I really just wanted her to be comfortable and just be okay, because you have to remember that it's not always about you. Even though that's my father, everybody expects for their parent to die in their lifetime. You don't expect to lose your spouse. You expect to grow old with your spouse and y'all die around the same time frame. Not, when you're in your 50s. You know, that's really hard. And like, I will always remember the flight back, because I told my mom, you know what, because I was home for like 30 days. I was like, why don't you come back to D.C. with me? Because the other thing is, there's no family in Washington State. It was just us. Everybody else is in like Georgia or California or wherever else. I was like, Mom, come back to D.C. with me for like 2 weeks. Just do something different. And I mean, that plane ride back, I let her borrow my iPod, and out of all the 50,000 songs, she went straight to the gospel section. And I mean, I could hear her playing like the Break Every Chain. She was just playing all these inspirational songs, and my heart just dropped. I was like, oh. If I ever cried, I was crying because I felt bad for my mom. Like, that is heartbreaking. But like, the good thing is, like, you build those, like how I talk about building relationships. You know, I learned that it wasn't all about me, and even though I'm in mourning too, she's in mourning as well. And even my younger brother, you know, I was 26 when he died. My brother was only 20. 26 and 20 are two really different age groups. And then you start thinking about your brother, and you start thinking about everybody else, and then the family members. And when you start thinking outside of yourself and start thinking about the whole picture and everybody else, you as a person, you just become almost that strong person that just keeps everything together. It just kind of keeps everybody motivated. And it makes you feel good about yourself, because you understand that you're not the only person struggling, and you have something in common with these other people. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to be good. We're going to be all right. And those are just the 5 things that I think helped me. I don't know, maybe you guys have other advice you might want to share that I can utilize. But I think those are the things that have helped me. And, you know, we'll just see where things go. I'll kind of keep you guys updated with what's been going on. Right now, my focus is I'm trying to get my butt back in school. And I put a lot of focus in my career. I put a lot of focus in just doing things I want to do. I started teaching dance again. I took on, I've been doing a lot of work with Cinematic Magazine, which is a lot of fun. And, of course, my actual real 9 to 5, I really put some work in at that job. I mean, we are just outperforming my little community center. It's just great. I'll do a video talking about that later. But anyway, I'm out. Subscribe, share your thoughts, any advice. Even if you just want to let your heart out and talk about something you dealt with, put it on in there, because I actually do respond to comments. Anyway, I'm out. Subscribe. Happy New Year.